I have an important message for a select few. That's not all of you. This is for a select few of you guys that are listening or watching this. It's for trade business owners that have been around for a while. They understand the frustrations of marketing and being in control or not being in control. Guys, it's 2021 and many of you are marketing yourselves like it's the year 2000. Off the back of a global pandemic, we've seen huge shifts in the market with people turning to service providers they know, like and trust. There's never been a better time to establish the tools and frameworks in your business to take advantage of these things. These things that will serve you not only now, but serve the business ongoing. Over at Tradie Web Guys, we've recently launched the Elevation program. It equips businesses with the tools and the programs required to successfully market themselves. It gives you tools to re-engage with your past and present clients whilst nurturing potential clients. It creates assets in your company's name with no proprietary licenses. You own these things 100%. It gives your business a huge head start on the search engines with advanced SEO, and it collates all of the programs and all the services you need into one neat little bundle, including things like web development, website management, email marketing, SEO, Google Ads, loads of different softwares, strategy, support, and a bunch of other things. After going through this program, you'll have all the tools you need to market your business ongoing. You'll have a huge head start in your marketing, and you'll also have a CRM so you can continue to build your database whilst engaging your current customers and re-engaging those customers that you've essentially forgotten about. Marketing tools that you need, and they'll all be in your control. You don't owe anyone anything. You'll be able to dial it up and down essentially as you see fit. So why is this an important time to talk about this? Guys, it's important to know a lot about a little and a little about a lot. Meaning, you want to be in control. You want to know enough to be dangerous. I'm not trying to give you more work here. Essentially, we'll set everything up for you, teach you the basics, and then it's all yours. It's complete transparency. You'll never grow a business past a certain point without marketing. Word of mouth will only ever get you so far. We've spoken about it on the podcast a load of times. At some stage, you need to invest in these things. This is the simplest and most affordable way to do it. For more information, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/elevation, fill in the form, and let's make 2021 the year that you took control. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations, and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form, and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Ilana, welcome back to the Site Shed podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you back. It was, I just checked, September 2018 when you were last on the show.
Wow.
Doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah.
Maybe I must have cocked that up. There must have been one in between there.
Maybe it's because we occasionally throw emails back at each other.
Yeah, it's true. I think maybe in between that I was on your podcast, and that might have been why it feels like it's been so long. But
that's true. You did come on my podcast talking about managing Facebook groups, I believe, if my memory serves me well.
So anyway, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're from Green Arrow. Oh, actually, no, you've had a bit of a change as well. Why don't you tell the listeners about what you're up to and what you're doing these days?
Yeah, it's true. So before we hit record, I was just getting you up to speed in the sort of bit of a pivot that I've had in my own business. So for the last 8 years, I've run an agency, paid traffic agency called Green Arrow Digital, and I've kind of moved away from the agency space. And now I guess what I noticed is that, for most businesses, they don't actually need an agency. If you're spending, up to even $5-10 a month on ads, if you know a handful of really good strategies, you can really run it yourself. So you don't need an agency. So you're just spending all your money on ads. So I launched an online community called Teach Traffic, teaching people how to run profitable campaigns themselves so that they don't need an agency. So that's kind of my new home now.
It's a great program. I was in there for an entire year. I think I logged in twice.
You weren't one of my best students.
It's nothing personal, I swear.
I know. It's all good.
Well, that's great. That's exciting. So that's all moving along nicely.
It is, yeah. So now I'm really helping people how to, run their own campaigns and, mastering one platform first and getting that working. And I also, like audit people's accounts for free. So I sort of, get access to people's accounts still, and I help them. I sort of screen record videos and tell them what I would do if they were in my agency, but they're just doing the implementation.
So I've asked you to come on the show today because there's a whole lot of hype and uncertainty in the marketplace at the moment in relation to this whole debacle around Apple versus Facebook and the pixel being removed, blah, 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 blah. And I thought I'd just get you on there to get the actual facts and what it actually means to people and how they can best mitigate these turbulent waters in this space. I don't think really anyone that I've spoken to really understands what's going on. I know I've had to jump through a few hoops with our accountant running ads, and we've had to register our domain and all this kind of stuff, which we already had done actually. So we didn't really have to do a whole lot of, but there was certainly, what is actually going on? And you were saying offline, it looks like it's a bit of a battle between Cookie and Zucks.
Exactly. So basically what's going on is Apple and Facebook are kind of somewhat at war with each other. I was listening to another podcast and they were saying that they kind of feel like it's a bit of a personal war between the Apple CEO, Tim Cook, and Zuckerberg. And, the Apple CEO kind of has openly expressed his disdain for what Facebook has done with people's data and openly shared it and exploited it. And so this is kind of his response to that. And essentially what's happened is in the latest Apple iOS, which is the phone software update, I believe it's 14.5. When you update that software on your phone and then you kind of go to Facebook, you're going to probably get a prompt on your phone asking you if you want to give Facebook permission to track your data. So allow or don't allow. Previously, before this kind of update, it automatically defaulted to allow Facebook to track you. So if you go to facebook.com and you leave and you start traveling around the web on your phone, Facebook is tracking you if you're obviously like logged in, which most people are because they use Facebook on their phone, right? And it was the kind of thing that you need to opt out of, which you could through some convoluted way through your settings. And 99% of the people never did that. And Apple knows that. So now when you update your phone, it's going to, the default prompt's going to come up saying, would you like to give permission for Facebook to track you outside of their app? And you'll get that, allow tracking or do not allow tracking. And Facebook know that probably 80% of the people at least, I reckon, are going to say, no, Facebook, you can't track me, don't allow.
So when we're talking about tracking, I mean, obviously, maybe we could just dull down the whole concept around pixeling for the listeners and viewers out there so they understand what that means.
Okay, so by enabling Facebook to track you, it's essentially they're observing your browsing behavior, okay? So when you go on your phone, for example, to maybe the Iconic, which is a big, e-commerce platform, and you're browsing for some shoes some runners that you might be looking to buy, and you add the product to your cart and you don't buy them. And then suddenly when you go to Facebook, you see an ad for those runners, which you were looking at. Okay. So Facebook has tracked that experience that you've done on Safari or Chrome on your phone. And based on your behavior on that website, they've tracked that through their pixels and their cookies. And therefore they've shown you an ad based on your behavior. Okay. So also, even if you don't do something like that, you're reading certain blogs or they've categorized you as interested in certain products and things. And so therefore from their targeting point of view, you're classified as certain kind of targeting category. And therefore you are shown certain ads based on your targeting. Okay. Mm-hmm. So as an advertiser, this is going to affect people multifold, right? From, common terminology in the industry is a retargeting campaign, which is kind of that experience I explained to you before of adding the shoes to your shopping cart and then not buying them. You would have been added to a retargeting audience, meaning that you've gone to a website, you didn't do what that person wanted you to do, which is buy the shoes. And based on your behavior, you're now being served a certain type of ad. Okay, you probably, yeah.
So would you say that this concept is the way they're pitching it anyway, to be in the interest of the iPhone user, like the consumer? It's clearly not in the interest of any business, right?
Exactly. So Apple's pitch is we're all about privacy. and, which is quite funny coming from Apple. But yeah, like, users have a right to not be tracked, and you need to now explicitly allow Facebook to track you, or you have more control as to whether you want to be tracked or not.
So do you see this as let's put ourselves in the shoes of Tim Cook for a minute. Is this going to be something that you could see drive sales up or drive sales down?
For what?
For iPhones.
Look, at the end of the day, like, you can go into the settings of probably an Android phone and block Facebook from tracking you. The point is that most people don't, which is why Facebook are properly panicking about this update. And there's been a lot of pushback from them, and they've been sort of playing the card in the marketplace of like, oh, this is, we're just all here for small business, and they're playing the small business card as this is who's going to be impacted the most. Yes, it's going to impact small business, but it's also going to affect Facebook's revenue, because what's going to happen massively, exactly, is that as an advertiser, you're going to now log into your ads manager account, and you're not going to see the return on investment that you would have otherwise explicitly seen. Your interest targeting audiences, like targeting people who are interested, who are renovating, for example, if you're a Sparky, and you're trying to get into that niche, that your interest targeting audiences aren't going to be as good, because people are opting out from being tracked, and therefore actually Facebook ads doesn't work so well for my business anymore. I'm going to go to Google. Thanks very much.
Exactly. And it's certainly, and I wonder, like when you look at, is it essentially going to be forming part of a trend? Like, is it going to force the hand on Android, or obviously, like, or will it force the hand on Google? To sort of up their ante in the similar sort of way. We're going to make people opt in.
Well, Google have actually now, in response to this, come out and said, we are taking the front foot with this, and we are going to stop all kind of cookie tracking at the end of the year.
Shit.
Now, I've been in this space for a long time, and we don't know what's going to happen. I just think they've got some card up their sleeve. And if you think about it, they're in a much better data position than Facebook. They own Gmail. So many people have Gmail accounts. They own Google Search, right? Obviously, they own the browser, Chrome.
Pixel phones.
Google Apps for Business. Google Analytics is basically on every website. Like, they've got data, right?
Sure.
So I would be amazed that they would cut this off and risk turning off, massive amounts of their revenue without some plan up their sleeve.
But did they say that they're going to be turning it off for all retargeting, or just Facebook though?
No, Google have come out and said this.
No, but did Google say, like Apple's done with Facebook, we're going to turn off the retargeting pixel for Facebook, right? Or Apple said that for Google as well? Not
Apple. Google have come out and said they're going to be turning off this type of tracking. Look, I don't know, like, watch, the jury's out on the Google side of things, because as I said, I just don't believe that they haven't got some kind of workaround up their sleeve, but they're trying to appear like the good guys. Hey, we're the good guys here. Like, we're kind of following Apple's theme here and going for privacy first and all the kind of, but like, I don't know, like, they're too smart for that. Like, they've got, that's my personal opinion, I think they've got something up their sleeve. Facebook, on the other hand, like, they know that they're really going to be massively impacted, and they know that most people are going to opt out from being tracked, and they're sort of bracing themselves to some degree.
So it's funny, isn't it, when you look at a massive organization like Facebook, who in a situation like this are kind of at the mercy of a simple decision by, a huge company like Apple, which could so massively affect their business model. But they've had it pretty bloody good, to be fair. Like, Facebook have had it pretty damn good in terms of pillaging data and just ripping people off over the years. So I don't know how I feel about it.
I kind of feel like, and once again, this is just my personal opinion, like, I feel like, had they not kind of gone so hard with pillaging data and, buying all credit card data and all that, which basically Google does as well, right?
Right.
But if they weren't, I feel like so explicit with it. And I don't know if you've had the experience, but I know many people have, and I have many times with like, I'll be talking about something and then I get served an ad for it. And like they're listening,
crazy.
like, I mean, I don't think there's a person listening. It's all, voice recognition software, etc. Like, I feel like if they didn't go so hard with that, it wasn't so explicit, it probably would have flown under the radar for a lot longer. And this whole Cambridge Analytica stuff is just pure evil. And so I kind of feel like they made that bed. And this is as a result of it. People have cottoned on and go, hang on a minute, actually, my data is really important. Whereas before, people didn't realize the impact of them sharing the data, So
I'm wondering if, although it might seem doom and gloom, if the outset of this is going to be, a somewhat nicer experience for everyone to enjoy. There's nothing worse than just getting constantly spammed and retargeted by ads on Facebook, which drives me freaking nuts. From a marketer's point of view, it's great. Wow, we're getting our message in front of these people, and like they use it as a metric. But like the reality of it, I find it really spammy, and I don't really like it. So I'm wondering if it's actually going to be a better move, in the long term.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, because isn't there a saying, marketers ruin everything?
Yeah.
And so like, hopefully this sort of brings the control back to the user and actually means advertisers need to be a lot cleverer with it.
Exactly. They actually have to put some creativity into what they do, which brings me to the next question. I mean, is that kind of where it's going to go back to? Is it just going to be about, building those lookalike audiences, re-uploading them and, or and just doing it more manually instead of relying on the pixel?
Yes. And I think it's all coming back to even the first principles of just building a database and, building a relationship with your database, using ads to build a database, but, relying solely on the pixel to convert people through some kind of funnel or something. I think those days, the writing is on the wall. And we're going back to kind of old school days of like where tracking wasn't so great and it was coupon codes that people had to use to attribute the success of a campaign. And going back to the King Kong of using ads to build a database. That's what I believe, actually.
It's just, this is the ongoing message that we have with our clients and with our community. You need to be investing and you need to be applying resource into re-engaging with your 10,000 strong database that you've never once sent a freaking email to. Exactly. There's just this churn and burn mentality, which is, again, I think it's as a result of marketing. Like people are just like, I need more ads, I need more, I need more.
Yeah, and most of the time people have a database there sitting ready to go that they just need to nurture it probably a little bit and not forget about and focus on who you've got versus who you don't have,
We've been doing these re-engagement campaigns with clients of ours, marketing clients of ours, and every single one of them that we've done this with, they've been booked out solid for a month, just off one email. But I know, and that's not even a huge database. Like these are, maybe 500, 600, 1,000, like not massive.
Yeah.
Air conditioning, electrical, plumbing, like just chock-a-block, And I'm just like, you guys are freaking insane. Like it's just for whatever reason, can't get the message through though. Everyone's like, nah, more ads, more.
I couldn't agree with you more. And don't get me wrong, like I'm an ad person. Obviously, I'm all in on ads, but where I think the real power is for a business to be it's sustainable is using ads to build that database.
Yeah.
And then relying on that database to really feed you. But, to continually be fed, you need to keep feeding that database. So that's where ads come in,
Don't get me wrong. Like you do 100% need new leads. There's no doubt, but it should never come at the cost of your existing, 100%. And I think that's just the big, people just drop the ball on that so much because it seems like it's a lot of work, but like people don't understand the power of automation these days and the power of technology. It's not that hard. You just got to set it up and let it do its thing,
Yeah. And taking the time to build that relationship through email. I love email marketing actually, which is funny to hear from an ad person, but I totally do. I'm a big fan of it. But then, obviously using ads to build that is where the real power is.
So from a marketer point of view, someone who's, as you said, all in on ads, obviously we're talking to trade businesses now. We're talking to people out there that, are investing in cold traffic lead generation through paid advertising. Perhaps a lot of that is retargeting. I would say, especially on Facebook, I would say a very large percentage that would probably be retargeting. What advice would you offer to them? Would it just be what you just said? Start investing in building that database and engaging with it?
Look, this is not the end, completely the end of retargeting. As I said, this only
No.
applies to people with an Apple iPhone.
Sure. For now.
For now, yeah. So it's not completely over. So you still can do it. There's a couple of steps you need to take in your ad account now, which maybe we should touch on a little bit.
Sure.
So the first thing you need to do is to verify your domain with Facebook. So hopefully your listeners are using the Business Manager. They're running Facebook ads. And within the Business Manager settings, you need to go through the steps to verify your domain. It's basically your way of telling Facebook, hey, Facebook, I'm a legitimate business. Then, so when you go through it's like a 2-step process. It's pretty self-explanatory. And when you go through it, they're going to spit out some code for you in which you put that code that they give you on your website in which verifies your domain. It basically goes in the same place as your Google Analytics code. Okay, so once you verify your domain, if you're somewhat experienced with the Ads Manager, then you may have set up what's called conversion tracking, which is your way of telling Facebook, this is my goal, this is what is success to me. Mm-hmm. Facebook have, as part of this update, have said advertisers are only allowed 8 different conversion events. I don't know how they're per 8.
That's per domain or per campaign? Per domain.
Per domain, exactly.
That might sound like a lot, but it's not really, is it? Like you were telling me offline. I mean, that's probably maybe not a relatable example to trades, but there's a lot of goals that could happen as a result of a campaign.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the e-commerce world, if you think about it, somebody who adds something to their shopping cart, it's usually a conversion event, mm-hmm. Viewing the checkout, completing the checkout, like that's 3 of them just to get through a purchase. So but your listeners aren't in e-commerce, which is lucky. Look, for your listeners type businesses, 8 conversions is sufficient.
Yeah.
But the point is you are restricted to 8, which I mean, feels like they've plucked that number out of the air. I really don't know how they've gone 8, not 7 or 9 or 10. I really don't know how they got to the number 8. It feels quite arbitrary.
It is pretty random. It's probably like, how many conversions do you reckon we should put? What was that, mate? Did he say 8? Well, 8.
Yeah, but let's hope there was more thought gone into it than that. But that's what it feels like. So now you're only allowed 8. And of the 8 that you do have, you need to prioritize in order of priority. So you need to say which of your 8 are the most important and rank them in decreasing level of importance.
I struggle to see how that's relevant.
Well, I know it's just all really weird, to be honest. But basically, let's say for your listeners, like a conversion event would be downloading a prospectus. I don't know. Prospectus and filling in a contact form. That's just for argument's sake, right? And let's say one for the business owner, filling in a contact form is a higher priority and worth more to them than somebody just downloading a prospectus. And let's say one visitor does both of that. So somebody comes to their website, downloads a prospectus and fills in the contact form. Typically, your Facebook ad account would say you've had 2 conversions, whereas now with the order of priority, it's only going to track the highest priority one if somebody has done both.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it's going to look now. So don't be surprised if now you're advertising and suddenly you're getting what appear to be less conversions. That's because a portion of your conversions aren't being tracked by people because they've opted out from being tracked. And hence that's why Facebook are kind of saying, this is really bad for small business, because they're going to kind of log into their ad account and think, my Facebook ads aren't working anymore and I'm going to leave the platform.
Yeah. Sucked in Facebook.
Pretty much, I think.
And sucked in, I suppose, businesses that are too highly leveraged on Facebook.
Or just too reliant. Like, I don't know if any of your listeners have sort of heard me talk about before, but I feel like I've been banging on about this for so long. Just do not put all your eggs in the Facebook.
No, exactly right.
Like, they're notorious for shutting down ad accounts. It's a matter of when, not if, that's going to happen. And so many people, I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who that is the only form of advertising that they do.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook ads. And then they come to me crying because, my ad account's been shut down. And it's like, well, that was a matter of when, not if. So I'm all about diversifying traffic sources. And it's, as long as the cost per lead is below your threshold, I don't care if actually Google gives me more expensive leads, as long as it's at a profitable level and the leads are good, then.
Exactly. I'd take a more expensive qualified lead any day.
That's exactly right. And rather than just going where the cheap leads are and then only doing one platform, because you've got this single source dependency. And now it's really going to impact many, many businesses who rely 100% on Facebook ads.
I'm not entirely convinced, like for the trades, it's going to make a huge difference. Like I very rarely hear people talk about how they just get raving a load of, all of their clients through Facebook. Like I feel like, the goal conversion conversation versus actual sales is a little bit swept under the rug by a lot of marketing agencies, where they're like, oh, look how many conversions you've got. Yeah, but the phone hasn't rung. Like, I don't care if my ebook's been downloaded. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I still feel like perhaps for like the world of Facebook marketing for trade businesses is still very much education based, whereas if somebody's trying to sell an ebook, sure, Facebook's great for that kind of thing or whatever, but it's not really trades.
Yeah.
No one logs on a Facebook, goes, ooh, need a plumber, got a blocked drain. That doesn't happen.
Well, that's right. Exactly. Where do they go? They go to Google for that.
Yeah. Or they go to like we were saying offline, community groups, and they say, hey, can anyone recommend a plumber, blah, blah, blah.
100%.
So you've got your little team of minions running around saying, hey, call Matt's Plumbing, they're the best, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but that's more modern day word of mouth, isn't it? That's not marketing. Exactly.
Yeah. And you have no control over that.
Right.
As opposed to, someone's gone to Google and actively typed in,
right,
leaking pipe Bondi or something,
Yeah.
Very localized type query kind of thing, when you're swiping.
Then I suppose the question remains, like, Google's saying they're going to pull that pixel by the end of the year. Is that what you said?
They're sort of the whole retargeting thing.
Right.
Kind of what they're saying. Look, it's very early days.
Right. But I mean, that's going to wipe out banner ads straight away, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Look, I don't know. I mean, you can still upload your database to Google,
Yeah, true.
There are lots of ways around it. As I said, it's early days. We actually don't know what that looks like just yet. And as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they've got a workaround up their sleeve, given the amount of first-party data that they have on people that Facebook does not have. So, yeah, let's watch this space in terms of the Google side of things. But there are massive changes going on industry-wide.
I mean, to be fair, they kind of have to. Like, it's getting out of hand. There's just these conglomerates that are just taking the piss, and this is a prime example of.
They're just too big, unfortunately. They're a real monopoly, and it's unfortunate that I guess we're in this position, But who knows? But I guess for your listeners who are doing Facebook ads, don't be surprised when you log into your ad account if you see a red banner on the top as of the week that we're recording this, because this is when it's dropped, alerting you that you need to do these steps. So you're just going to do those 3 steps that I talked about, and also potentially anticipate that you will have less conversions recorded because people have opted out.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I'm sure that will be very helpful. I'm going to try and push this one up the list a bit so we can get it out to answer the questions that are inevitably coming my way through my Facebook community. I can feel it already, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, this is in the world of online advertising, I say to people, change is the only constant.
Right.
And this is just part and parcel of change that is just inherent with the space.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's great. So thank you for your time. What's the best place for people to check out what Ilana's up to these days?
Best place is teachtraffic.com. And I can help you there if you want to learn how to run campaigns yourself.
Yeah.
So you don't need an agency, or if you realize that you never want to log into your ads manager ever again in your life, which some people fall into that category, you can also find me at greenarrowdigital.com.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again for your time.
I
look forward to chatting to you and look forward to chatting again in the future. No doubt there's going to be an update or multiple updates to this conversation, depending on how things roll out. So I might have to call on your expertise once again.
Yes, watch this space. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, listeners, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com, where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.